I bet you're ready for us to finally bring you the Trail 7 Plug and Play speaker bundle for your 2024 Plus Jeep. If you are, you're going to want to stick around to see what we've put together for you. What's up everybody, Mike here with Trail 7. Really excited day today because we're finally releasing our Trail 7 Plug and Play Kicker Speaker Bundle for your 2024 Plus Jeep. I know you guys have asked for this bundle for a really long time. We've been working on it, trying to find the right configuration, the right speakers, etc. Well, we have the right kicker configuration for you, and we're going to show you how easy this is to install into your 2024 Plus Jeep. If you have a 2024 Plus Jeep, you'll know that the configurations change because of the sound bar. The speaker now incorporates the light. It's a whole different change. It's a whole different shape of the sound bar. So our plug and play bundles for 18 to 23 are not compatible with 2024 Plus. We've received so many calls and emails and inquiries about when are we going to put something out. Well, we've been waiting to find the right configuration, the right option. We finally have something that works for the 2024 Plus with the speaker bundle as well as a full amp system, which we've already released. And now it's time to show you how to install the speakers. We did release the amp bundle with a very detailed guide of how to install the speakers, but still I know that our customers like to see how you actually do it in the Jeep. So today we're going to do that. We have two speaker bundles on the table right here. Let's talk about what we have. We have the KS speaker line here. We have the CS speaker line here. The KS speaker line is a different sounding speaker, a higher performing speaker. They can handle a little bit more power. They operate better with an amplifier, so I definitely don't recommend installing these into a Jeep without an aftermarket amplifier. The CS handle factory power better, so you can install these into your Jeep without an aftermarket amplifier. They also handle a big bit of power, so you can amplify them later on. You can start with the CS speakers, you can add the amplifier later on if you want more power out of them, more sound, loud, top-off power. That's going to come from your amplifier, so you can start here. The KS, we're not going to offer these without an amplifier just because they do best with that amplified power. They need that clean, true power to get them to perform at their optimal level. So today we're going to install the KS speaker. Let me talk to you a little bit about what we have here. Let me show you what we have going on. So in both sets, you're going to have the 6.5-inch speaker option for the knee panel. That's the most difficult, and by difficult, it isn't hard to do. By difficult, it's time consuming. If I were to put this on a difficult meter, like 1 through 10, it'd be very low. It'd probably be on the 2, 3 level, and only because of the time it takes to do it. The knee speakers aren't something to where it's, hey, I'm gonna go install knee speakers real quick in the Jeep, I'll be back. No, this is a, hey, give me a day in the garage and I'm gonna be gone for several hours because it's time consuming. There's a lot of screws, there's a lot of panels to remove, and there's a certain fashion and a certain pattern to follow to get all the panels to come off nicely and without a battle. So we're going to show you how to do that. Again, it's not difficult, it's just time consuming. So both have the 6.5-inch knee speaker upgrade. Let's talk about the soundbar options, which are these speakers down below here. You're used to seeing maybe in the 2018 to 2023, the 6.5-inch speakers with the different configurations. We don't have an option for that yet. What we do have is a like-for-like swap, and don't be discouraged by the size of the speaker. These speakers still are going to be an upgrade over your factory, and they can handle a great bit of power, so there's definitely going to be an enhancement, especially if you add the amplifier, right? So let's go over what we have size-wise. So you're going to get a 4.5-inch coax speaker in the soundbar. It's going to replace the existing. You're going to have the 2 3/4 middler is what this is. This is a mid to high range speaker as far as the frequency. This is going to replace the factory 3-inch. And the dash is going to have this 1-inch tweeter, which is going to pair with the 6.5-inch knee speaker here. We attach all of the connectors to the knee pod, so it's an easy plug and play install, which we're going to show you how to get this one into the Jeep. Similarly to the KS with the CS over here, of course, like I said, we have the 6.5-inch knee speakers. The dash is going to get a 3.5-inch coax speaker, which is this guy here. The sound bar is going to get also a 4.5-inch coax, just like it is on the KS side, and it's also going to receive the same KS 2 3/4 middler, so that way you'll get a great performance or you'll get a great balance of your frequency out of the sound bar. So There you have two speaker bundle options, the CS, which we'll have listed individually on the website, and we'll have the KS, which will be listed only with the amp bundle. And again, you can pick up an amp bundle to pair up with the CS later on or at the same time, etc. So we're going to show you how easy these are to install, but before I do that, we're going to show a couple of very basic tools that you need right here for you. Now we're going to show you how to install these. We have some pre-recorded clips of the deinstallation of the dash, the deinstallation of the knees, the deinstallation of the soundbar, etc. We're going to show those universal deinstallation pre-recorded clips now, and then we're going to put ourselves in there when it comes time to putting those parts and pieces. So let's go ahead and clip over that now. Now we're going to disassemble the dash to access the top dash speaker and the knee speaker in the 2024 Plus JL Wrangler or JT Gladiator. All right, so the first part of this, of course, is the disassembly. We're going to start with the top dash speakers. Super easy. You're just going to pop the grills off, unscrew 2 bolts on each side of the speaker, and the dash speakers are out. Next is the knee panel speakers. Like I said earlier on the bench, the level of difficulty, it's not difficulty, it's more on the easy side. It's time consuming. So we're going to get you through that. We're going to show you all the parts and pieces to remove there. Just give yourself plenty of time when you're going to do the knee panel speakers. And as far as, is it worth to do knee panel speakers? Absolutely. You get the huge upgrade from those knee speakers. So to start the disassembly, we're going to remove the top dash speakers first. These are super easy, of course. There's just one grill on each side. There's 2 grills. Pop the grill off. There's 2 screws on each speaker holding that in. That comes out. New speaker goes in. Very easy. We'll show that to you in a second. We also have a guide to walk you through here of each part and piece, so you can use this video in parallel conjunction with the guide, and then it'll get you through that. So let's go ahead and start first with our dash speakers. All right, so let's go ahead and get disassembled here. We're going to remove this top part piece here first. That has to come off in order to get this trim piece off. So we're going to take this piece off and then the 2 corner dash speakers. There's this little piece that comes out that exposes the 2 bolts underneath. With your panel removal tool, just pop that out. You go to the other side, same thing, just pop this side out. And you see the 2 7mm bolts. This is also a Phillips head. All along the Jeep, it's either a 7mm or a Phillips head. It's the same bolt, so you can use either tool for the same bolt. We're going to use for this one here a 7mm. Next, we're going to pop this piece off. There's a lip on here that's underneath here, so it's best to grab it from the back once you can pry up one of the sides and just pop it out just like I did. Something to note on here, when you pop these panels off, they're going to have these little clips on here. There'll be different colors throughout. Just want to make sure that you have the clips on the piece that you're taking off, so when you put them back in, it's easier to snap into place. So if you find one of these that doesn't have one of these clips on there, look wherever you took the panel piece out from and find the little plastic clip and put it back on the holder. Next, we're going to take the grills off, so let's start on the driver's side here. We're going to go ahead and take the screws out from this passenger side. I recommend getting yourself one of these little magnetic trays also. Super helpful just to keep track of your screws. Next, we can go ahead and get the speaker out of here. Lift that off. The connection is directly into the factory speaker. And there's a little tab here that you're just going to push in when you pull the connector out. I'm going to do the same thing on the driver's side speaker. Just get these 2 screws out. And let's take the speaker out. Same thing, has a little tab to push in. Next, we're going to remove this top trim piece. This is to start the disassembly of the dash to get the knee panel speakers out. So to get this out, there are 2 screws, one here and one here. Next, you're going to pull from one side and pull the clips out and walk your way across the other side. So let's get these 2 screws out. So let's go ahead and start pulling from one side. When you do this, be careful in the middle here. It's kind of separated. It's connected, but it can separate. So just be careful when you get to the middle part here. Don't just grab the whole thing and rip it out. Do it in steps where you're doing kind of clip by clip until you get to here, and then you can rip the other side out. There you go. If you see it kind of bends and flex in the middle there, there's a little clip. So this is out, and so are all of the little plastic pieces that I was referring to earlier. So next we need to take the screen off. This is 5 screws on top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this just pulls right out. And then I'm going to disconnect these 2 connectors in the back here. Set that aside. Next, we're going to move over to this side and start removing the panels over here, starting off in this large panel on the side of the dash. I'm going to pry this off with the panel removal tool. So now that this is exposed, there's a bunch of screws that have to come out of here. Definitely recommend getting yourself a 7mm wrench. This bolt here is behind this trim piece panel, so you're not going to be able to get a screwdriver straight on there. So get yourself a 7mm wrench. So the screws that are coming out is this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This takes off this panel. This screw here, 5, is holding in the speaker pod itself. And then these 2 up here, 6, 7, this is holding in this trim piece that has to come out as well. So from the side, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Next, we're going to pop this panel off here. Be careful when you take this off. There's little pieces of plastic for the knob here and behind there. So when you wedge it underneath, do it very carefully, delicately. So this has this little cover piece on here, and this cover piece can crack. Just kind of walk it around the edge like you saw me do there. Remove this piece here, this little red tab. Pull it out. Don't forget to reconnect this when you're putting it back together, or else you won't have lights. Now we're going to pull this trim panel piece off down below the steering wheel. It's going to expose a bunch of other screws. All right, we're going to pop this trim piece off here. So I have to remove this bar down here. There's a couple of bolts that come out. This screw comes out. This screw right here is holding in the knee pod, speaker knee pod also. There's 3. One we've already removed, this one here, and one up on the side there. So this one comes out, these bolts come out, these screws come out. This bar has to drop in order to get the speaker pod out. So there's two on the side of the steering wheel column, one up right here, one here. Let's take those two out first. So there's 6 on the bottom here. There's a screw here, a bolt here, a screw here, a bolt here, and 2 more screws here. So these are your regular Phillips and 7 mil, and these 2 are 10 mils. So let's get these screws out first. Now switch over to the 10 mil. Let's get these 2 bolts out. There's this one underneath here also. It's back to a 7 mil. This is where I would recommend your wrench, possibly the ratcheting side. I'm going to pull this trim piece off of here. It exposes 2 bolts. And then I'm going to take these 2 bolts off of here. And this is going to allow me to take this top piece off. And then I need to take this piece off here, which I need to take these 2 bolts off of here. Once I get that piece off, it's going to allow me and expose a bolt that's up underneath here to take the bottom piece off. So let's do that. Just pop that out. And you see there are 2 screws behind here, where my fingers are. So reference the photo for these 2 screws, and also the guide shows these 2 screws very clearly in case you can't see them here. That's one. That's the other one. Now we can move up top and take these 2 screws out here. Now we can pull this top piece off. So next I'm going to take these 2 screws off to take this piece out, because this is overlapping this. And then there's one more behind here that is the final one that's holding this in. Helps to have a couple different size, length sockets also. See, this piece was overlapping this clip here. So there's one more buried back behind here, and again we'll have a photo here of it, and this is also referenced in the guide. If you follow my finger in, where my finger lands is where that screw is that needs to come out. Now we can just take this whole piece out. There's one more bolt screw that's holding in the pod. It's behind this connector here. So you have to remove this connector, and there's a screw right behind here. Again, we'll have photo reference so we can pop up here for you. And this is also referenced in the guide. So first we want to unclip this antenna here first. So we'll remove this little box here, the little module antenna that's plugged into. Just remove that. And then you can disconnect this in order to get that screw behind there. You can either just move this out of the way to get this screw. This is the last screw that's holding the pod in. So you just want to move that out of the way. Or you can disconnect it also. If you disconnect it, just remember to reconnect it. but we can just tuck it out of the way. Now, of course, the speaker is still connected behind there with the factory speaker connections. There's also a module behind here that's attached to the factory knee box, which will move that module over to the new pod once we get to that point. So there's still some more bracketry that needs to come off from the bottom in order to drop the speaker down. And this won't come out because this piece right here is in the way. Now, here's a little trick that you can do. You can cut this piece of plastic and you can pull the pod directly out if you don't want to drop the bar. That'll save you a lot of time. So it's a little quick cheat. We're not going to do that here, but you can do that on yours. You just cut this little bridge piece of plastic because this piece is what's preventing this pod from coming out. So to do it the long way is we're going to remove this bar down below to drop the pod down to have it so it'll clear this piece. So this last 8mm bolt needs to come out in order to drop the metal bar down. So you can just pull this bar and just kind of jimmy it out to release these two bars from it to get this low enough to drop the pod down. There you go. Now there is a couple of connectors that are attached here. So this is the speaker connector, the factory speaker connector, and there's this module down below here. It has two connectors on the bottom. We're going to disconnect this, remove the module. We're going to bring the module over to the new pod. The new pod has a spot for this to mount onto. So let's go ahead and disconnect the factory speaker first. Just push this little tab up top here, pops right out. And then same thing below, there's these two tabs to push to remove these connectors here. And there you go, just like that. Easy peasy, factory knee speakers removed. And now it's time to move to the passenger side to remove the passenger knee pod speaker. All right, now we're ready to remove the passenger side knee speaker pod. First, we're going to drop the glove box and remove it. Then we're going to remove the side panel over here like we did on the driver's side. Remove those screws that are holding in the side of the pod as well as a couple of the trim piece panels. This side has a lot less going on to remove than the driver's side. We're going to, after remove those couple of screws, remove a few from the bottom of the glove box rear. We're going to gently pull this trim piece panel out, remove a couple of the screws holding the pod in from the front, and then we can remove the pod from the empty glove box area here. So this is a lot easier than the driver's side, a lot less going on than the driver's side. So let's get the glove box out of the way first. This drops down. There's a little clip inside here. You just push in the clip and pull the glove box down. And then it may or may not have this little swing arm connected. Now I'm going to remove this trim piece over here. I'm going to remove these screws here. It's this one. So there's 1, 2, 3. Similarly to on the driver's side, this one's behind this trim piece, so you're going to use your wrench to get in there. And also in this hole right here, there's a screw, and that is one of the screws that's holding in the factory pod. So 1, 2, 3, and this one here, 4. Not a bad idea to have a magnet stick handy also, just in case some of those screws do fall down into a cavity you can't reach. You can stick the magnet stick down there and grab them. Next thing, we want to get this one out here. There's that one out. There are 2 more screws underneath here, right where my fingers are at. Again, we have a photo that we'll put here for reference, and this is also in the guide on the disassemble passenger side portion. So there's 2 here. These screws here, on our Jeep, they don't have the Phillips head. This is only a 7mm. Your Jeep may have a Phillips head. We've seen different screws types in different Jeeps sometimes. So this one here does not have a Phillips head in it. So this is only the 7mm. If you look, this is a slightly different screw. So when you put these together, just make sure you're putting these 2 back in the same spot, the ones that don't have the Phillips head mark. So what that did, that just allowed us to be able to pull this out like this. And just being able to pull this out gives you enough room to be able to reach your hands behind here to unscrew the last couple of screws to get the pod out, and to be able to reach behind the pod to disconnect it. So this pulls out a pretty good amount here. You can feel the tab where that connector is attached. You can just push the tab in and slide it out. And again, we have a photo that we'll put in right here for you. And this is also included very detailed photo shots in the guide. Now I'm going to do the bottom screw. So with an open wrench, 7mm, you can get this one up here. There you go. Now you can just lower the pod right out. And there you go. Just know that the disassembly guide that we have, that is for disassembly of the dash speakers and of the dash, the trim, etc. Installation is now going to be covered under this video here, which is just doing everything backwards. All right, now that we have the dash disassembled, all of the factory speakers are out, we're ready to go ahead and start installing our kicker speakers. So as I showed you on the table there, we had 2 sets. We had the kicker KS and we had the kicker CS. So to talk about a little bit of what's different on them, these are the kicker KS. This is what we're going to install today. This is a component set. So 6.5-inch speaker in the pod. You're going to receive it like this, completely plug and play. And then the 1-inch dash tweeter, also you're going to receive it like this, already mounted in the plate here. This is going to mount, I'm going to show you this, but just to talk you through, this is going to mount in the knee pod area. This wire is going to route up to the top of the dash where this tweeter is going to connect into. It's a component set. The crossover we mount inside of the pod, so you don't have to worry about any of that. You're just going to mount it, route the wire, and connect it to the top speaker. Now the difference between the CS and the KS as far as installation is the CS is also a woofer in the box here, and we mount the crossover inside, but this is just a woofer. This is not a component set. So you're going to connect this to the factory connection, and then the dash speaker is the coax speaker, which we connect a base blocker on here just to help performance. This is just going to connect in the dash. So this is connecting in the dash, the knee is connecting in the knee, unlike the component set, which is connecting together and the crossover is inside. So I'm going to show you how to install the KS speaker. Just wanted to let you know that that's how the CS is installed. So that way if you do purchase or pick up the CS bundle, that is going to be the difference. Now as far as when do you install one versus the other one, the KS we're only going to put with our full speaker packages, our full audio system packages, which includes the amplifier. I would definitely not recommend installing the component set, the KS component set, in your vehicle without the amplifier. It's going to do best with aftermarket, clean, amplified power. The CS speakers work really well with an amplifier, so you can put them in a full package bundle, or they also work really well with your factory power. They have a different sensitivity level, so they can operate really well with your factory power. So if you're just going to do speakers, you can do the CS speakers, And if you're going to do a full amplifier package, you can do the KS speakers or the CS speakers. So that's all said. Let's go ahead and move forward with our KS speaker install. First, we're going to put the pod in, route the wiring, connect the tweeter. So let's go. So here we go with the KS speaker. We're going to just rest this into its spot, and then we're going to feed the wire up to the dash speaker spot. So let's go ahead and do that. I wouldn't recommend mounting the speaker pod yet until you get that wire routed. So it's just going to put this in the same way you took the factory one out. So with that kind of just rested there. So we're going to go ahead and now route the wiring up to the top. There isn't a way to get a camera up there. There is a channel though. There is a clear path. Just, stick the wire up from the bottom and then reach your hand in the top dash spot and just, feel your fingers, grab the wire and pull it up. Okay, there you go. Just pull the wire out. You can just leave this here and we'll come back and we'll attach this to the speaker once we mount the knee pod speaker. Let's go ahead and connect the speaker pod to the factory connection. This is the factory connection here. This is the speaker pod connection. Let's go ahead and connect these. You can tuck that behind. Now there are 3 screws for the speaker pod, the one up top here, the one down below on the bottom bar, and the one on the side. I'm just going to kind of rest it in here, and I'm going to screw the one on the side first just to hold it into place. When this is closed up, it has to go through this little hole. It's just easier if you pull this back and at least get it started. I'm going to leave it loose until I get the other ones. Just go ahead and get the bottom one first. Just going to get it started. And tighten it all the way. It has a little bit of wiggle to it so I can get the top one. Top one is a more difficult spot to get into. This is why I recommend ratcheting 7mm or very small socket wrench. There you go. Now we go ahead and tighten the one on the side and the bottom. Passenger side kick panel speaker has been installed. Now we can go ahead and start putting our trim panel piece screws back together. Remember the 2 underneath here are the ones that don't have the Phillips head. Now we can put our glove box back away and start putting our screws in the side of the trim panel piece here. There you go. Cool. Now we can go ahead and start putting our screws back in over here. And remember there's this one down over here that you need the little wrench for. There you go. That's in. Now we can put our trim piece panel back together. And now we're ready to install the dash. And keep in mind, if you had the CS speaker, the mounting of the CS speaker is the same with the 3 screws, the factory connection. The only difference is you won't have the wire to run up there like we did here in these KS speakers. So let's go ahead and connect the dash speaker now. So again, just wanted to touch real quick on the CS speaker. This is just a quick connection to the factory connector. So if you're going to install the CS speakers, you're just going to connect this to the factory connector and screw it in, and you're done with that one. Since we're installing the component, you're going to tuck the factory connector away. You're going to use the wires that we ran up from the knee pod and connect these to the tweeter speaker. So connect your male to female and male to female for each side there. Cool. And now we can go ahead and put our grill back on. There you go. Dash speaker is done, knee speaker is done, passenger side is done. We're going to move on to the driver's side. All right, now we're on the driver's side. We're going to install the knee pod first, but first from the factory pod, this has this little module on here. This module needs to come off of the factory speaker pod, 4-inch factory speaker, and this needs to move over to our new pod. So there's 3 bolts in here. Just remove these 3 bolts and move this little box over, this little module. That with the old and with the new. All right, now we're ready to install the new Kicker KS pod as we did on the passenger side. So what I want to do is I want to route this wire up behind this piece here and kind of route it where my finger's going up here, and then there's a little channel right here to go up to the dash there. There's another spot behind here also, but this is a pretty easy path to follow here. Okay, what I want to do though is I want to start that wire though, because once I mount this here, it's going to be hard to get my fingers all up in there. So I'm going to just kind of start that wire routing and let it hang out back behind here. And just kind of let it sit up there while we mount the pod. Now you have to connect the speaker pod as well as connect the 2 cables that you removed from the factory. So let's go ahead and do the speaker one first. And I can pull more slack out. And now let's go ahead and connect the 2 module connections, which are these 2 guys here. They only fit into one. One's larger than the other one, so you can't go wrong. So that's how they connect in there. And now go ahead and pull the slack up. And make sure the bar is down. You can clear this little tab behind here, because this tab needs to go behind this plastic. Just like that. Just make sure you're not pinching the wire. And there you go. I'm going to put the side screw in here just to kind of hold this into place. It's in there loose. Now we can screw the top one on. And just so you can see, you're going to remove this. There's the screw that's going to screw into. Okay, that's the hole that we're after there. And switch over and use the Phillips head. And I did go ahead and tighten that down. Now don't forget to put this module back in. And this does screw back in. There's a little screw hole right there. There you go. Now we're ready to go ahead. The driver side speaker's in. We can go ahead and connect the dash speaker now. Let's go ahead and finish the wire routing of the dash speaker here. We already got it halfway. We just need to connect this last little piece, and there's the routing. Just push it up. So now if you choose a different wiring path to get here, fine. There is no right or wrong way. I just looked and found the easiest way from what I could tell. If you find another easier way on both sides, the driver's side or the passenger side, you're just trying to get to the dash here, however you get there. Now let's connect the spade connectors. We're going to go male to female and male to female. Same thing here. If you're going to install the CS speakers, you're going to connect it to the factory connector here. Since we're installing the component set, we're going to tuck the factory connector inside. Now our 1-inch KS component tweeter is connected. Let's just go ahead and screw that down. So dash speakers in, let's put the grill in. Now we're ready to button up the knee speaker. I will say that if you wanted to test the speakers, this is a good time to do that before you put all the dash pieces back together for the knee speaker. Just test to make sure that both front speakers are working correctly, and then you can continue on. So let's go ahead and get our trim piece panels put back together. Like I mentioned earlier, now would be a good time if you want to just test the speaker out to make sure that it's working correctly before you put all this stuff back together. So make sure this little peg is in this hole here. And this is the 8mm, and these two bolts are the 10mm. This is the 8. These are the 10s. Now we can put all the screws back together. Let's go ahead and put the one on the side here and get that one in tight. Now the pipe piece that goes onto here. This is the 4xe, so it has this little panel right here. That's what this connector is for. This connects into this here. Screw right here, screw on the bottom there. There's a screw on the bottom underneath here also. So we can screw the screws on the side here. Remember, there's this one over here that you need the kind of like a 7mm ratcheting wrench is what I recommend, or open crescent wrench there. Remember, there are 2 screws behind here. There's 3 behind here. One that's pretty deep inside there. There's this one screw that's behind this panel here. So take this screw out here that I put in a minute ago. Take that out. It makes it easier to get this piece out of the way. You can have a little bit more play to move this out to get access to this screw back here. Next piece is this vent cover here. There's a screw underneath here. Next piece is the panel cover here. You can get this one down here now. Don't forget to reattach this. If you do forget that, you won't have headlights. And a couple of screws on the side, and a couple on top. Now our lower piece down here. And our side piece over here. Now we can get the rest of the dash piece put back together as well. All right, let's get our screen back in here. Let's go ahead and reconnect these two guys. Move our 5 screws up top. Our trim panel piece that goes across the top. There you go. There's 2 screws that hold this in. Now there's 2 screws on each side that holds this down. Now these little pieces. Snap into there. There you go. And you don't have any screws left. It's good. Our dash is now assembled, our speakers are installed, our front speakers are done. Now we're going to disassemble the soundbar to access the 4 speakers in the 2024 Plus JL Wrangler or JT Gladiator. We're going to remove the grill, remove the 4-inch and the 3-inch factory speakers. So let's go ahead and get this grill off. This is a 5mm Allen, so let's go ahead and get that out. Let this dangle here if you want to while you're replacing the speakers. You can remove it. Let's go ahead and just remove it to get it out of our way. There's a little connector on the back here. Push that pin out and push the button. This little red tab, slide it out and then push the little button behind there. That disconnects the light. All right, so you're going to go ahead and remove the 2 factory speakers. This is a T20 Torx bit that's needed for that. So starting off the speaker over here. There's a little tab right here. Just push the tab in. Same thing as if the front speakers. This little tab right here. Same like on the front speakers. Let's go ahead and get this one out now. And this one just has this little tab right here that comes out. The soundbar speakers have been disassembled. Very easy disassembly as well. So we're ready to install our KS speakers here, but I wanted to talk about the difference between the KS bundle and the CS bundle. KS bundle is going to replace the 4.5-inch or the 4-inch factory speaker with the 4-inch coax speaker, and also with a 2 3/4 Midler speaker. This is for the KS, is what we're going to install now. The CS bundle is also going to have a 4-inch coax speaker, and it's also going to use the same KS Midler speaker. So this is going to be the CS configuration, and this is going to be the KS configuration. So they're both going to have this same 2 3/4 Midler speaker in it. So let's get installing our KS speaker. The 2 3/4 is going to connect to the smaller connector, and the 4" is going to connect to the larger connector. So the 2 3/4 comes with these little metal brackets. The speaker is going to sandwich in between the two metal brackets. So how this is going to attach or connect, this bracket is going to go on first. You have to push the connectors out of the way. This one sits on the bottom, and then this other bracket sits on top, and that's what pushes and mounts it inside. Let's get that. Same thing on the other side. This is a T20 Torx bit. This is just reusing your factory hardware for both speakers. Now the 4" speaker is going to come with this ring here. This ring is going to install on the outside. We prepped these speakers, so we install that little resistor on that one there, and we also remove the trim tabs or the little pieces on the edge here, so that way it sits right in to the spot using this bracket here. You see there's a wider portion and then two narrowers. So just line it up with where it fits. Now we're ready to put our grill back on. All right, there you go. Driver side, rear, soundbar speakers are installed. We're going to do the same exact thing on the passenger side that we just did on the driver side, but let's go ahead and do that. There you go. Our Kicker KS speakers are now installed in our 2024 Plus Jeep Wrangler and Gladiator. All right, everybody, Trail 7's plug-and-play Kicker speaker bundle has been installed into the 2024 Jeep. I hope you enjoyed that video and saw how easy it was. Time-consuming, yes, but still easy to get those D speakers out. Definitely recommend tackling that. Don't be afraid of it. If you'd like to pick up your plug-and-play Kicker speaker bundle for your Jeep, please visit us today at www.trail7.com. Until next time, we'll see you out there.